Evening Chelsea fans, welcome back to another week of Chelsea Chat with me, Moose and JB. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell notification, and don't forget to comment below. I would love to hear your comments on all things Chelsea as we go along. So this week we're going to cover some of the games that have come up. So this midweek Champions League game, and then also into the Burnley game from this week, and then we're going to look forward to Rennes and Sheffield United next week, around sort of Chelsea's stomping success as we currently stand. So let's crack straight into it. JB, Krasnodar.
Krasnodar?
I mean, I'm liking how you're repeating what I say now, Jamie. But,
Yeah, very good win that was. We looked a little bit uncomfortable first half, I'd say.
Yeah.
But we kind of slowly got into it. Obviously, we got quite lucky with the first goal. You know, the goalkeeper should have done better.
To be honest, all four of the goals could have been down to the goalkeeper doing better. I think sort of it's one of those ones where they seem to be quite a sort of sweetheart club in Russia, because they were sort of formed by sort of a very sort of, I don't know if you read the article on BBC, but sort of a very sort of influential billionaire in Russia created the club, so everyone sort of sees them as a sweetheart club based on what he's done. It's not a real challenge when you go and play against that sort of squad today. I didn't see any real threat from them with us, and I think that's probably one of the challenges we're seeing over the last couple of weeks is we're not really being challenged too much. It's not necessarily down to sort of amazing performances on our side, but it's sort of more poor performances on theirs.
I think it's a mixture, really. I think
it is a mixture.
We've looked a lot better, and things seem to be clicking a bit better. I mean, defensively, obviously having Mendy there has just made a massive change. Having Thiago Silva in makes a massive difference. I think Mendy just gives the defenders a bit more confidence. They're not as panicky, so they're not making as many mistakes just because they have that confidence. They've got this big guy behind them, you know, even from corners, they know he's going to come and get that ball if it's in the area where he should be able to get it, whereas Kepa, it wasn't like that. So I think that's made a massive difference. And defensively, we've looked a lot more solid. And I mean, we played against Sevilla and Man United in that time. Two very good teams and not conceded a goal. Whilst we didn't score in any of those two games, we did the part we've been struggling on. And in the last podcast, I said conceding goals and defence is why we're not going to win the league this year. Well, since then we've not conceded a goal. So obviously Frank's been listening to the podcast and taking that on board. He's gone and worked a bit on defence, and since then we've not conceded a goal. So that's got to be seen as a huge positive. Just clean sheet after clean sheet since then. Mendy, just doing very well in goal. He's saved us a lot of times now when they have had a shot. And I was saying the other day to someone, it feels strange for me to have a goalkeeper that can save a shot. Like every time there's a shot on goal, I'm panicking thinking, oh no, it's going to be a goal. But then I remember, oh no, we've actually got a goalkeeper who can stop a shot now, which is just bizarre.
Do you know what I think it is? It is weird because we've had so many good pedigrees of keepers for, last 10, 15 years. You've had sort of from Kudicini into sort of Czech, then into Courtois. Mm-hmm. And then we've just had this period of Kepa. And I think sort of a lot of the other clubs in the Premier League never really had that. They've always had an inconsistency. Sort of, you look at Arsenal, you look at Liverpool, for huge swathes of that, they've just had bang average keepers or complete awfulness. And we've never really had that. So I think it's hit Chelsea fans hard doubly with Kepa. A, because we're not used to having a bad keeper, and B, because of how much we spent on Kepa and not getting the results we were expecting from that.
Yeah.
Mendy's just a breath of fresh air. I wouldn't say he is best keeper in the world, but he's doing the job that we paid him to do. And that's really all we can ask for. And I think it has that effect that you were talking around there. You've got young defenders in front of you who now are more confident because they know that if a shot goes from 30 yards out, the likelihood is he's going to save the shot, rather than pretty much we were getting to the point at the beginning of the season when Kepa was there and literally anyone would ping it from 30 yards and 50-50 of whether it would go in or not. I think it's just sort of massive for us. And I think, to your point, Thiago Silva, you're seeing it from all the pundits this week, he's having such a big impact on the way in which we play. We've invested so much in our attacking front, but having someone to walk into that defence and just brings a level of class is massive for us. And I think sort of the only thing I'll add to that is we just need to start looking for his successor immediately rather than waiting for him. He's not a young spring chicken anymore. He's 36. So we haven't got a huge amount of time with him there. I think we definitely get the rest of the team to learn and adapt from him, but we need to then look for the next big one. Otherwise, we'll have the same problem we've had for the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, hopefully, Tomori and Zuma can take on that kind of mantle and be the ones to go forward. Tomori to be there, like being there and keeping him this season is probably a good thing because he's going to be there alongside someone like Thiago Silva and learning. Maybe he won't go on and be as good as him, but he can take some of those traits from him and learn when they're on the training ground and learn when they're on the pitch together. And I'm just hoping that he could be that next one for us that will come in and do that job. Difficult, but you've got to give the guy a chance, haven't you?
Yeah. So back to the Krasnodar, 4-0, and there were some good performances on that. So I think sort of the call-out one here is Ziyech played very well, just looked a danger in the front. And I think it's probably what we're seeing from Frank over the last two games. So in the Champions League and in Burnley at the weekend, is he's finding the squad that he likes.
Yeah.
Back four seems to be pretty solid, and we've got a good consistency there. We're finally seeing the consistency of defensive midfielder in Kante and having two sort of number 8s in Havertz and Mount. And then you've got Ziyech, Pulisic and Werner. And for me, we called it at the beginning of the season, that's the sort of lineup we wanted. But it's now just starting to click. 200 million.
I think that was the big thing that came out of the game on Wednesday was, the first half wasn't going very well. And so he changed it because obviously we started with the 4-2-3-1 in that game. And then he brings on Mount and Kante for Kovacic and Jorginho and changed it to that 4-3-3. And it just, you could see straight from there, it clicked and it just started to work. The intricate play between the attacking players was brilliant. Kante doing his usual job of cleaning up all of the counter attacks coming back at us. It was fantastic. And obviously, given the opposition, I was thinking, that's what I wanted to see. But are we going to still be able to do the same thing on a cold Sunday or Saturday afternoon in Burnley? But they did, and that was one of the games on Saturday that I was kind of thinking they haven't won a game yet, and we're going to them, and we're the kind of team that will give them their first win of the season. It's just how it is. But we didn't, and we just another masterclass again. And I feel really positive at the moment. I think things are going in the right direction. Things are looking good. The players are starting to click. Yes, we haven't come up against a really tough team that we've beaten because the two good teams we played against, we drew. But you can only play what's in front of you, and we did the job we did, and we did both occasions. We did it in a very good manner. So I think things are looking positive. I think we've got more to come. We've got more testing games to come. We've got stronger performances to come, and I do expect that will happen. I mean, Ziyech has only started 2 games, and he's already looking good. Pulisic is still kind of getting injured all the time, but when he comes back, if he's playing again in the midweek and he looks good again, put him along there with Werner and Ziyech and Havertz, and it's exciting. It is, and I really am happy to see how well it's clicking already, and it's not even halfway through the season yet, which is good.
I think that's a big challenge. Is there was a big microscope on the club a couple of weeks ago when you've had sort of a run of games where we had the West Brom game 3-3 draw. There was a lot of critics sort of immediately on Frank's back, and it seemed as though he couldn't pick the right squad. He was still testing everything out. He was playing Jorginho, Kovacic, quite a negative midfield. Still, we didn't have everyone fit, but we're having sort of a mishmash of defenders that seem to change every game. And we're now seeing that consistency. He's now starting to find his right team. You've now got the players available that you want to have available, and it's just starting to work. And I think that at the moment it's just confidence building. As soon as we get into that run of games, we'll start to see Ziyech play a bit more. I don't think we're even seeing him at 40, 50% of what his ability is yet, let alone sort of 100%. Pulisic is still not firing all cylinders. Werner's looking amazing. Havertz is still finding his feet. I don't think he will until midway through the season, if I'm going to be honest. But he's still playing well. He's still sort of doing the job. So it's coming along. I think sort of 2 good games. I'm sort of really sort of warming towards sort of, Werner already on fire. Absolutely beast in sort of the attacking right front line. But also you can still see space for some of the players that had such great seasons last season. So, as you say, Pulisic is still not quite there yet, but Hudson-Odoi is coming in and playing well. So you can't really complain because you've got a winger ready to step in on that sort of stuff. You've also got Mount still playing regularly. Tammy seems to be the backup at the moment. Giroud doesn't seem to be getting as many games, which is probably a little bit disappointing for him considering the form he had at the end of last season. But I think Tammy is the right person to come in. He's finding that fire again, but I think he's just coming to the realisation he's got some real class players currently sitting above him.
I think he's kind of adapted his game a little bit as well, because he seems to be doing what Giroud was doing. And he's obviously learning from Giroud in terms of the hold-up play and the interplay with the attacking players coming in behind him. So he's kind of doing that job, but I think he has a little bit more of a goal-scoring threat. He can do the tap-ins and stuff like that, whereas Giroud doesn't seem to be that guy. He doesn't do that as much. So it's good to see, and I think he's going to be very, very useful for us as the season goes on. Coming on late in games and maybe getting us a goal, or starting a game here and there where some of the players might need a rest. And that he can do a job. You can feel confident that he can come in and do a job. You're not worried, oh no, we're not going to score today because Abraham's there. No, it's fine. He can score. If not, he can get an assist like he did on Saturday. So it's good to have him there. I think we've gone so long with having not many options for strikers. We've had a couple of fantastic ones and quite a few flops. So to have 3 strikers that I'm comfortable starting is actually very refreshing at the moment.
I think it's refreshing across the squad, to be honest. I think I made the comment at the start of the podcast that we need to find the new Thiago Silva, but it's not as though Thiago Silva's going anywhere. He's just looking for longevity of the club, to be honest. It's recognising that we can't really rely on a 36, 37-year-old for too much longer. But the class he's bringing to our defence is unreal. So I can't really sort of complain around that. But then looking forward to next week. So we've got the upcoming games against Rennes. Champions League's been a mixed bag at the moment. Sort of Sevilla game, very much a game to forget. Didn't seem to have much happening. And then we obviously had a very good result last week, but I don't think it's necessarily the cream de la creme of Champions League squads there. Rennes, to be honest, I couldn't tell you very much around their squad, but it's another must-win for us.
I think again it'll be similar in terms of what happened with Krasnodar, except for this time I believe it's a home game. We should get a very comfortable victory. We've stolen their best goalkeeper, so that should have left a hole in there. He'll obviously want to keep a clean sheet against his former club as well. I think it'd be another good opportunity to see Hudson-Odoi come in, potentially Tomori. I'd like to see a couple of these kind of players, not necessarily youngsters, but players that have been a little bit on the fringe this season. Obviously, the most important thing is a victory, but at the same time, the fixtures are coming thick and fast, as we said at the beginning. It's a game every couple of days at the moment, so you need them to be fresh and not be, picking up injuries in the warm up like Pulisic. So ideally, we can rest a couple and get get some of these fringe players playing as well, and not have that worry that we might concede a goal because of it. It's not like the goalkeeper needs a rest. So
it's going to be interesting also, and it's not something I've actually looked into too much. So I know that the EFL and Premier League is going to continue, but whether there's going to be impact to Champions League games as a result of the lockdown that was announced at the weekend, I just don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I'm just interesting because you've got teams from all around areas that are potentially going to have challenges with whether that's going to have any impact.
Well, they do. I think that the whole protocol they've got going with the bubbles and all that kind of stuff. I think it keeps them out of harm's way, so to speak. So I think it shouldn't really be a problem. I think they will carry on in the same way the Premier League will.
And then looking forward further than the Rennes game, we've got Sheffield United at home. Once again, home or away doesn't really matter in the Premier League at the moment. It could counts really much for nothing. Sheffield United have had a horrific start to the season. Now, I'm not sort of denying that there is a time in which they will turn this around at some point, and I'm really hoping it's not this weekend. But sort of it could be another opportunity to get sort of more points on the board. We are sort of starting to pick up a bit of traction, and another sort of team that are struggling would be appreciated if we can start to really sort of hit a number of goals. I think sort of that for me is where I would really, obviously a win is must, but for me getting the points on the board, but also giving a load of confidence boost to the likes of Havertz, to the likes of those attacking players, that just sort of a high scoring game is where I'd like to see it. What are your thoughts around it? Because they've not, I mean, Sheffield United have had a torrid time over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think their biggest problem is scoring goals. And if we play as we have been, then they're certainly not going to get a goal because they're, attacking wise, they've not been great. We've actually looked solid at the back recently, which is good. If that continues, then, we won't lose the game. So it's just really about can we get the goals? Can we break down their defence? Because they are still pretty rugged at the back. They're still pretty solid and strong at the back. I think it is, as I said, it's just their attack that's been letting them down. They've obviously conceded a few, but everyone does. I do think it'll be a tough game. I think they're really going to want to turn it around. They're going to want to improve. I do also think that we should be going out there and proving a point. Firstly, we want some revenge after they absolutely spanked us silly last season. I'd like a little bit of revenge on that one because that was horrendous. But also, we want to make a statement that, we want to go and fight for the title this year. It's so wide open. There's absolutely no reason we can't. With the way we've been playing the last couple of weeks, we fully have the ability to go and do it. Every single team has their problems this season.
Yeah.
No one's running away with it at all. And I think it's like the closest that 1st to 20th has been to each other after this many games since like the 70s or the 80s or something. It's
everyone's
so
lost
close this season.
No one's I think it's the first time for sort of 10, 15 years that no one's gone on an unbeaten run for sort of the first number of games. Yeah. As you say, we're only 4 points behind Liverpool. They've got City next. So if we can get another 3 points on the board, that puts us in 1 point of Liverpool, depending on the outcome of that game. As you say, I couldn't name you who's going to sort of be in the top 4 based on the form that we've had so far. You've got sort of City and Arsenal both sitting in sort of 9th and 10th. You've got Man United sitting in 15th at 7 points. And then you've got the likes of Sheffield United, Fulham, Burnley all on 1. It's not many points in it, to your point there. It's sort of everyone's had a loss. We've probably got jointly with Tottenham the best run of form, and maybe Southampton as well, in the fact that we've had 2 wins, 3 draws. Tottenham have got 3 wins, 2 draws, and Southampton have got 4 wins on the board. Wouldn't have put them on that last time we spoke, but I'm not seeing sort of runaway that we were seeing with Liverpool last season. where you just sort of seeing them demolish every squad. They've obviously got the tarnished 7-2 on their board there. They've lost someone like Virgil van Dijk. I still don't think they are a club that's going to struggle, but I don't see them achieving the heights they did last season. I think you'll see a few more losses on the boards. I think Tottenham will be challenging for it this season if they can keep Harry Kane and Son fit. That they look like a very dangerous pair. It's a very mixed bag everywhere else. No one else is really...
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. I think even like Arsenal looked pretty good today against Man United, but I still think they're maybe a season behind our development. As an example, I think maybe next season they'll be looking to push for a title mount or something. But usually I would have said that it was probably a season too early for us. But the way that things have started and the way that the other teams have been, failing, it's just positive for us, and it just gives us that opportunity to actually go and give it a go and try. I think we've definitely got the ability to do so with the players we've brought in and the players that we already had. We've just shored up the areas we needed to. And, I thought it might take a little bit longer for us to click, but it seems to be working out well already. So I can't see why we don't.
I think sort of from my perspective, you're seeing sort of the big clubs in Liverpool and City not having as big or damaging effects so far. Now, there's a long season to go. There's a full within their rights to sort of turn that around. But I think we've got to monopolise on it because we're starting to find our run of form will start to build a bit of momentum. And whilst they're all struggling, we want to sort of really steal a march on that because we could quite easily, before the end of the year, have a nice sort of run of games behind us, be challenging or albeit sort of top. It's just really whether we can maintain that level of consistency and also maintain in some key positions like defence, attacking, maintain that fitness and obviously keeper. Because I don't really want to see Petr Cech play this season, if I'm going to be honest.
I don't know.
Obviously, we've not done it for a few weeks, but I thought we would add back the segment that everyone's been waiting for in the transfer tracker. Once again, we're still waiting on Jamie's budget to improve the sound and suspense works to try and do that. But, I try what I can, guys. I try what I can. Transfer tracker, interesting one. Some names that are going to be difficult for me to pronounce coming into the lineup here. Blues plan £8 million bid for Bosnian defender in January. Obviously, the well-known Malmo defender, Enel Ahmed Hodiziz. Very well-known Swedish defender. Apparently, we're going in for $8 million. It's interesting because I'd say a defender like that is probably not who we need. I'd say that if I was going to just look at on the face of it, that's loan fodder that I'm seeing we're buying there. We've already got Marlang Sarr out on loan. We've already got a plethora of good centre-backs. If we're going to invest in central defence, I personally would be looking for class to replace Thiago Silva. Yeah. And we've still got Tony Rudiger that potentially could come back into the squad. And I'm not sort of moving away from the fact that he had an absolutely outstanding start to last season and seems to just drop to form. Doesn't mean he's not going to be able to get back into our squad.
Yeah, he had a good game on Wednesday against Krasnodar. He put in a good performance. Obviously, he's not first choice and he's not going to be first choice. Zuma's playing too well. Thiago Silva's too good and too important. So unless we start playing three at the back, which I don't see the need for us to do, so he's going to have to just wait for a chance for someone to get injured or, Thiago Silva's going to be rested throughout the season. He's not going to play every single game purely because of his age. We didn't even fly him over to Russia because we knew we'd just give him that rest time, not just because of his age either, but also all the travelling he has to do for international duty, going to Brazil or going to wherever they're playing. So it can take a lot out of him. So I could see, especially if we have long trips on on Champions League, or even maybe some of the big games up north in the Premier League, he might get a rest. So, I think that's where he's going to get his opportunities, is when Silva's rested. It's just, will it be him? Will it be Tomori, or will it be Christensen getting a chance in those games? And that's the big one, really.
It's interesting. To be honest, most of the news at the moment seems to be players who are going to probably be on their way out rather than a way in. So it looks like Emerson will be on his way out in January. It looks as though they'll look for an initial loan with an obligation to buy, like we seemingly do with many of those. But yeah, it's interesting. I think for me, after last season, I don't know, there was a lot of talk around, obviously, lots of different positions. I think the only position I'm really keen for at the moment to go and improve thoroughly on is defensively replacing Thiago Silva, because he's walked in with class. You can't expect a 36-year-old to sort of have every single game in the season and maintain that level of class. So whether it be someone who steps up or whether we need to invest in the market is in my eyes where we need to. I'd love to go and get another sort of second choice goalkeeper if
we can get rid of Kepa.
To be honest, it's one of those ones where I think it'll be very much like we've done many times before. It'll be a write-off. I don't think we're going to be able to get the same level of stuff that we would have liked to for him. To be honest, who would touch him with a barge pole? We complain about him every week.
The problem is that, we're paying him 150 grand a week, so he's going to be sat here for the next 6 years collecting that money, rotting in the reserve team, or we have to try and find someone that will take him either on loan or as a transfer, even if it was a free transfer, which I just can't see Marina doing that. I think she'll try and get some money for him.
I think it will probably be they'll wait until the heat from sort of his poor performances has died down, and they'll probably look at similar to what Karius did with Liverpool, is a loan move away to someone that probably is not going to put him under pressure too much. So like, I wouldn't say one of the Turkish teams, but something like that, where he's not getting challenged by one of the big teams on a regular basis that will knock his confidence. I just don't see him. I mean, who in your right mind in a top club in Europe would go and invest in a goalkeeper knowing sort of all that sort of stuff? But yeah, I think sort of, do you know what? It's nice as a Chelsea fan to feel positive at the end of one of these podcasts, watching some great goals being scored by Chelsea. And looking forward to sort of next run of games. We've got some interesting games this week, but sort of potentially could be a really good week for us as long as we can maintain this level of form. So we'd love to hear your comments below around how you felt our performances have gone, any particular performances that you felt that we haven't covered, or would like to challenge some of the thoughts that we've had on the podcast today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe to the podcast. You stay classy, Chelsea fans.